Hi everybody, welcome back to Spruverse, my scale model universe, people of Earth. This is part 6 of Build the 1350 Enterprise Refit, the Polar Lights monster. And I want to just quickly say a big thank you to all of my subscribers for your awesome support, your questions, and of course your continued approval of what I'm doing here. I genuinely was not going to do this. I was just going to sort of punch in once in a while and show you the build. But no, people want to see it again. You're all gluttons for punishment. That's what you are. No, it's actually awesome because the more you work with this kit, the more you learn. And I think that I'm at a point now where I'm continuing to make little mistakes. I am. And I'm trying desperately to remind myself of my checklists so I don't screw anything up. But of course, you know, hey, it's model making, right? So there's going to be great days, there's going to be good days, and then there are going to be days where you just kind of walk away. Okay, so I've had a lot of questions about some things, and I'm going to try and deal with a few of those right out of the gate. One of the questions I had was about this neck and you know, how it was lit. Well, it's when I'm using the Ralph Teneglia Bluetooth sort of supernova kit, his big mama, with this board, right? The big board with the 5 connection ports. And each port has 8 wires, and each wire sends a different function to the board. Pretty awesome. So when you get the kit, you're going to get a huge strip of your SMD. It's the 12 volt strip. You're going to get a huge strip of it, and it's plenty. It's plenty to put inside your secondary hole, your saucer. It's plenty for your neck. And there's even enough left over if you want to do what I did, which was use it to light your office's lounge. Obviously, your chiller grill SMD strip is separate. Now, that does come in the blue. It does not come in the purple. It's interesting. I don't know if you can source the purple. You could certainly try to paint it purple, but what I have found is if you make sure that your chiller grill has had several good coats of your translucent purple, your clear Tamiya, I get mine in the spray form, you get nice coverage, and that bluish purplish thing is perfectly acceptable to me. To some of you who want pure purple, there's certainly other ways to do it. You could paint your you could certainly paint your SMDs, but the problem is blue and purple fight each other. So it is a bit of a struggle to get that blue to go purple. You're probably better off going with white and then going purple from your white, not from your blue. Anyway, but I put strip in my neck. That's what I did. For the floods, there are 2 little 3mm LEDs that are supplied with this kit, with the Ralph kit. And also, for those of you who don't know, and forgive me if you do, but for those of you who don't, your LEDs can be sanded down. As long as you don't hit that cathode, keep testing it to make sure you've not hit the cathode, but you can grind them into all different shapes and sizes. Now, they do come in different shapes and sizes. They come in lighthouses, which they call them top hats, or little squares. There's stubby ones. There's all kinds of different LEDs on the market. But if you do need to get them into very tight places, or you need something that's, you know, almost... well, I would say it's something you need custom ground. You can grind them, and you know, obviously that helps diffuse light and actually gets them a little brighter. So if you are doing that, sometimes you may want to check if your resistance is too low. You might want to up that up if you want to soften that light. Okay, that was one of the questions. The other question I had, well, I keep getting asked is, am I am I using the supplied LEDs for strobes, or am I using chips, nano chips? I'm not using nano chips. I'm actually using the supplied 3 mils. I grind down that little cap on the top. I've showed you that in the previous episodes. But the actual filming miniature does not have that little crown. I don't know where they got that from, but it doesn't have it. It's flush to the surface of the saucer. So I just ground mine off. And you can, with hot glue, stick your 3 mil up as close as you can and just let that dry. And then on top, you can either put a little microcrystal clear in at the end, or you can put in a little bit of your Solares epoxy clear with your light curing light, and you're good to go. Either way is fine. What I do, and what I have been doing is in all the orifices where it's a little tricky for me to keep it clean, I'm sticking a little bit of silly putty in there. I'm sure all of you know that trick, but get yourself a couple of little eggs of silly putty. You're going to love it. It's great for masking. Okay, here we are. Look, the elephant in the room. My secondary hull with pylons on it. And I posted a couple of Instagram posts of this thing, with the joke, hey, the fit was perfect. The fit was far from perfect. And I thought it would be disingenuous for me to go, oh no, everything is fine. As hard as I tried, this thing really fought me. But I thought it would be fun to, warts and all, just take these clamps off on camera and see what we've got. Because if this didn't work, or there's a big problem, and I have to start again, if you've never seen a grown man cry, you're going to right now. No, we should be fine. We should be fine. It has been curing overnight. I used 5-minute epoxy from JB World. I think that was the best way to go. Some people asked me if I used MEK. I did not use MEK, even though MEK will absolutely melt plastic together. When you've got structural demands that like you have on this ship, I just think you need all the gluing power that you can get. Okay, all the clamps are off. Let me pull it out of here just for a sec and take a look and see what we've got. Now, we're absolutely fine on this side. I've got a little bit of cleanup to do. Let me show you that. Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's better. Let me just leave that there for a second and play amongst yourselves while I get my my close-up camera close. But no. So everything seems to be pretty okay. I'm just taking this back tape off here just to show you what's going on and show you what else we've got to do. Let me pull this off for you now. Let's see here. Okay. There we go. Mixed results, but everything can be put back together. So, but I wanted you to see this warts and all so that we could see what has to happen next. I've got a little bit of cleanup to do on the fantail here, where this did not come together. Now, I had to make a decision as to what I was going to do. Well, I ultimately decided to get my fantail all square from the back and then clean this up. This won't be a problem. This will disappear, I promise you. We'll make this nice and clean. We've got a little issue here. Let me get super close for you. We've got a little issue here where I could not get it to sit down as hard as I tried. And so I will slightly sand this down and we'll putty that, and that should be not an issue. Here's the classic problem with this kit. Now you can solve an awful lot of it with grinding down your insides, your hooks, which I did, but you still get this gappage, no problem. This will get puttied and that will disappear. We're going to use epoxy putty there, but this is this classic problem with this kit. Sometimes it's worse than others. Look at this. This here you can see is quite a big gap, but nothing we can't take care of with a little putty. So I sacrificed some things to get other things nice and clean. I've got a good result here. I've just got to clean this little oozage out there, which I'll clean. And I've got a little bit to clean up here, but it's flush. So all of this will go away. And of course, the business end of the sort of the bulk of this here, I got a nice flush. I got it nice and flush here. As I did on the other side, it's nice and flush. It's just got to be cleaned up. So all in all, I'm going to give myself a C+ for this. But there is nothing in the way of this kit. You know, I'm sort of taking a flashlight here. You'll have to trust me. But I'm looking down the shaft here, and there's absolutely nothing that would have caused that pinching. Absolutely nothing. Everything was ground down correctly. It's just the nature of this kit. And I thought I'd gotten myself a good one. I tested it and I double tested it, but hey, you know, the best laid plans, right? But no, it's all pretty good, and it's all looking pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with it for the most part. Now comes the magic part, right, where we're going to putty this up. So the next time you see this, I'm going to have this all puttied and sanded and cleaned, and she'll look beautiful, and then we'll be ready to go. The other thing that's interesting is once you get this all glued together, you get a really girthy, I mean, it's quite solid. It's interesting how flimsy these pylons are before you glue everything together. But once you get it all together, you get a pretty solid connection. So I'm really happy with that. Okay, so lots of work to do there, but that's what it's all about, right? Is just a little bit of elbow grease, and we will have that knocked into shape. It's interesting. I don't think I could have said that 10 years ago. I think today we've got, now of course there's far more talented people out there who 10 years ago would have said, hey, we would have taken care of it. But not me. I mean, I'm just glad for all the different epoxy putties and things that we have now that especially also are water-based too, so they're really, really easy to work with. And I love my Infini epoxy putty. There's also obviously Aves's epoxy sculpt. They're all good. The only other thing I wanted to talk about quickly is the saucer. Now, I've got my saucer drying at the moment, but in this segment, in this overall segment, I'm going to be talking about those sensor bands and something that I think will add a little dimension and depth to this thing. Now, I'm not inventing the wheel. I'm discovering this for myself. I'm sure there are other people out there who have done this, or they're rolling their eyes and going, Phil, that was obvious. Well, I did not go to the University of the Bloody Obvious, so some things, take me a little bit of time to figure out. But when I do, I want to share them with you, and, you'll either fast forward or you'll want to listen. Either way is fine. Okay, so come back when I've cleaned this beautiful thing of beauty up. And I think also got a coat of, I'll sand it all down, prime it, and then I'm going to get a coat of my Insignia white on it so we see it in all of its beauty. Okay? All right, stick around. Well, as promised, we'd be back, and I would have sort of had all the elements together, and that is relatively true. on so many different levels, and on other levels, not so. But lots to dive into, and I wanted to dive in because there's a lot to deal with here. Okay, I want to start. Let me start with my saucer. Here it is in front of you, and my bridge is in place and all painted up and looking really pretty. But there's so much to do. But we're chipping away at it, right? And what's exciting is we're getting this down to our what I call my three elements, right? Which is your saucer, your secondary hull pylons and neck ish. We'll talk about that, and of course my nacelles. So let me start with the saucer because there's a couple of things I want to bring you up to speed with. One is floodlight. Okay, so I will tip this up, and you can see inside I have put 3 SMDs, nanos. I put them side by side. And the reason why I did that is because in looking at my registration Raytheon floodlight, right? That flood. I wanted to get as punchy as is sort of a little over the top feel to it, because I think it's really dramatic when it comes on and it lights up that registry, and that's that big moment. You know, it's the reveal of the new Enterprise, kind of christened sort of thing. Well, in the kit that Ralph gives you, he gives you a single he gives you a single light that you can use. Now he gives you an SMD that you can put, a little chip, and he gives you a resistor that allows it to be as bright as that chip can be. But I was having difficulty getting it to focus correctly and do what I wanted it to do, get that spray that I wanted. And then I tried 2 of my nano chips, but then I thought 3 would work really well. Well, and they do. But because I have used the green strawberry bridge, right? This is the aftermarket green strawberry bridge. Here it is. A couple of things happen. One is the interior space in this is not as luscious as it is in other bridges. It's just a lot smaller. And the other thing that you'll notice is that the walls here, these elements here, are thicker. They're a lot thicker than most of the others as well. And so the net result is that even if you were going to use an LED, let's say a 3mm, or you were going to use a square bulb, right, which you could certainly do, no matter what you do, you were going to run into an issue of there's just not enough space to get that light where it needs to be, get that bridge forward enough that you can get that spread that you want, but also not so far forward that you lose all the detail in the front and it looks wrong. So that's what I was struggling with. So I've ended up with 3 of the nano chips in a line. I did have to dig out a little bit of the bridge. If you check out my Instagram account, you'll see a still photo there of it. And I had a bunch of comments about, oh, you had to grind out the top there, and the answer is yes. Now, could I have chewed away a lot more plastic? Yes, I could have. But I find that when you chew out too much plastic, you run out of options in terms of things to glue lights to. And, I wanted to be careful of that. Could I have cut out a little more? Probably, but I went this way. We'll see how we do. Now, it is a little bit scary. Now, I've tested it on the board, and it seems to work fine. It comes on, it comes off, the strobe comes on, everything seems to come on fine. However, this board, the way Ralph explains it to me, you can sort of, you can run your system as a 9-volt system. The board actually functions as a 5-volt system. It's 2 amps, but basically each of your 5 connection points do drop down significantly. Now I've tested each one. I've put each one on a tester, and I'm getting about 3.5 to 4 volts on each connection point. So my concern is, and I won't know now because I've done everything I can do to test this, is find out what happens when everything is connected and that the amount of juice that's available to share amongst these connection points diminishes. Now I've put my system that I'm using, I've used my transformer, and I've dropped down to 3.5 volts just to see what would happen. It does get dimmer. I don't know if it's going to get too dim. I'm praying it doesn't. I don't think it will, but we'll have to see. So I wanted to share that with you. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that this saucer went together like a dream, like an absolute dream. Now, it's not super perfect, but it's pretty darn close. I've not, can we get a focus there? Yeah. So in other words, I've done nothing here, absolutely nothing, with putty or anything else. That's struggling. Let me see, even this. I've done absolutely nothing. Now I've not given it its final coat, but I wanted to share this with you for a reason. Because one of the things that I have discovered, and again, those of you who are tuning in and think that you're watching some kind of professional model maker, nay. You are watching a gentleman who is retired and loves the hobby of building models, especially fantasy models, who is learning my skills incrementally and just wanting to get better and better for the pure enjoyment of it. So, in my trek across the YouTube universe, I see an awful lot of videos dedicated to this saucer and how to get rid of all of its hideous problems. Its overbite. I've tested on another kit, by the way. I removed all the pegs on the saucer to see whether or not that would help, and it doesn't. It has to do with the fact that the 2 halves just are not perfect. And even if you get your window frames in as level as possible, you've got just a little bit of overbite in various parts of the model. One of the ways I got around a lot of that is with good old-fashioned Testors plastic glue. It works a little bit like an epoxy would, but what I found is that when it gets into about half an hour into its drying process, when it's brand new, it gets this sort of spongy tackiness, and it still hasn't done its thing. And at that point, you can still move things around. Now, you've got to use a little bit of brute force, but you can move things around, you can clamp things, and you can actually get this to line up pretty darn good. And as long as you've taped your window frame section all the way around, and I did, so that any glue that oozes out is going to ooze onto most of your tape. It's not going to ooze onto your plastic. Then you don't have to deal with, when you remove all of that, you're not going to have to deal with sanding away more of your sensor bands, right? Now, I've lost a little bit of my sensor bands in some places, but not terribly. And I'm really super happy with what I do have. And in putting my vinyl tape, now I'm using, here it is. It's what is this? To be exactly accurate for you guys who are curious. Yes, 3 mil. It's a 3 mil vinyl tape that I use for curves and stuff like that. There's all kinds of different versions of this on on Amazon. That's where I found it. This happens to be a blue vinyl, but it does wonderful around curves. But the other thing it does too is it leaves very clean lines, and it has a light tack. But it also happens to be the exact size of these sensor bands, if you can believe it. So by covering up your sensor bands, when you do your coats of paint and you're building up your layers of primer, you get this little step, and that will do an awful lot to create the illusion of that sort of sensor band, that punchiness, without having to do much. It's quite effective, and I think it works quite well. That's what I'm doing. That's what I've done. But anyway, when you pull off your tape after your glue is absolutely dry, you get a little bit of this sort of crystallization, and it's hard. It's hard. It hasn't bonded to anything, so you don't have you don't have that sort of melted plastic thing. So there is that, but what you do have is you have a little bit of crystallization around the frame. Now, let me digress for just a second. One of my subscribers, and you know who you are, I am embarrassed to say I have forgotten your name, but you were kind enough to give me at Wonderfest some of these tools, some of these. Now, what they are is they're from either, I don't know if it's China or whether it's Taiwan or Korea. I don't know where these are from, but they came in packaging with that sort of writing on it. Forgive me, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know, because there was no English on the packaging. But he gave me these, and he said, these are great, you're going to love them. And he gave me 2 of them, and I thought to myself, yeah, I don't know, you know? But let me tell you, he is absolutely right. He's absolutely right. This particular one, and I have 2 of them. I have one with this very long point, and then I have one that he gave me that has an even sharper point. Ridiculously sharp. Ridiculously sharp. And what you are able to do is, actually, let me do this here. What you're able to do is, with this blade against the lip of your saucer, you're able to scrape off that excess plastic, and as you scrape, you're going to remove any dirt or dust or anything. And I'm gently scraping here because I want to show you. You get these shavings, and obviously what these shavings are is micro amounts of plastic that are coming off your model. But you're not gouging, and you're not sanding. A lot of these other videos where they show you, oh, tape it up and just sand it and putty it and sand it and putty it. It's crazy making. And the other thing too is I don't care who you are. You're never going to get a perfect cylinder unless you put this on some kind of a machine that's rock solid and it's turning this model against some kind of sanding wheel. You're going to get these waves where if you really look at the surface of your kit, your model, you're going to see these indentations where you rub too hard in one place and not so much in the other. Now, yeah, there are skilled people out there who can get a lot of that out, and yes, after 15 coats of putty you can probably put it back, but why bother when you don't have to and you can get a better result? I've gotten a super clean result by doing this, and I'm absolutely chuffed. I mean, I really am. And then all I'm taking is a 400 grit sponge, and I'm just gently going behind and cleaning that up. And as I run my finger over this thing, guys, this is one of the issues I had with my previous saucer. I was not happy with the way it seated. Now, a lot of that, if not all of it, was due to my lack of experience in gluing something like this together. But I did very well with this, and I could not be happier. Couldn't be happier. So I wanted to share that tip with you. If some of you I don't, as I said, I don't know who this gentleman is. I'm begging you, if you remember giving me these as a gift, please drop me a line, spruverse@gmail. Say hello. Remember yourself to me, so that I can give you props on the channel, and maybe perhaps we can figure out where this particular brand came from, and I can share it with the rest of you if you're interested. I'd put this in your arsenal any day. I think this is terrific. Okay, enough about me. So that's the saucer. Everything is ready to go. All my wires are in, and I'm going to have to create an umbilical cord, but we're basically ready to go. So what I've got to do now is I've got to do one more final prime on this, sand and prime, and then I've got to get my insignia white on the bottom, and then I've got to do a light sanding of everything at 1,000 grit, maybe 2,000, and then hit it again and let that dry for a week, and I'll be ready. I'll be ready to go on my Aztecing. So that is that's I'm very happy with that. Okay, and then now I do have a decision to make, because in the previous build-up, my neck, I had attached my neck directly to my secondary hull, because all that I was doing was I was pulling a ribbon through it, and I was able to plug my saucer into my ribbon here, and away you go. I was off to the races. Not true here. One of the challenges with the Tenor Controls lighting kit is, you've got to do wire tidy, and you've got to really sort of get it all organized. So what I think I'm probably going to have to do is get my corresponding saucer cables, feed a set through here, and then connect my saucer to those, and then drop my saucer down. I don't know if I'm going to be able to feed all of my wires through my hole, not my hull, and my hull, without really fighting with it, because I've still got all my labels on there and everything else. So I'm still pondering that, but we'll see. But one of the things I did want to quickly share was I've been finishing some of the surfaces with the Mr. Surfacer 500, and I have to tell you, it's doing a fantastic job. It's self-leveling, and it's getting rid of a lot of the big imperfections. Super happy with it. So let me show you what I mean here. That seam is completely gone, and I used a couple of Mr. Surfacer I did a Mr. Surfacer pass on it, and I couldn't be happier with it. I couldn't be happier with it. It's really ready to go. So this is going to get its coat of the insignia, and that will be ready to go. But like I said, I'm still pondering what to do. I think what I'm going to do, as I said, is feed my cables through so that I'm actually connecting from the top of the neck. So when the saucer drops in, I've got plenty of room here. I've got plenty of gappage in here, as you can see, for all those wires to be hidden in. Now, of course, it could potentially affect the lighting situation, but I think if I bundle everything nicely, I should be okay. Okay, so that's my neck. Secondary hull, here she is. She's all ready to go. Couldn't be happier with her. So everything is done. I had a couple of major issues that I had to fight with. Now this hasn't got its final coat on of primer, so ignore some of my little scuffs where I've been cleaning stuff up. But I wanted to show you the business end here, what I call the business end of this. So where this top plate connects with your pylons, and where it connects up with this piece here, right? The fantail sort of frame, the skeletal fantail frame that covers everything and is sort of your finished product. I had an issue. Oh yes. And that issue was that this side was not as flush. I couldn't get it as flush as I tried. Now I've puttied this, and you can see on camera there's a slight shadow here where I've got just a little bit of putty to go here, just a little bit of cleanup, and that will disappear, and this will be perfect. And then everything is good to go. So I couldn't be happier with that. I've got tape on my landing pad here to protect it. But that's ready to go. The pylons are on. They're rock solid. Everything is super clean and flush. This is your, this is sort of part of your frame here. So that all looks really tight and clean. My Arboretum windows are covered so that I don't hurt them. But everything is nice and clean and flush and tight and rock solid. So that is ready to go, and I'm super happy with it. And I have to say, you'll be happy to know that this time around, my post is rock solid. Everything is rock solid. So when it gets bolted to my base, I'm not going to look like I'm crash diving or anything else like that. Those days are over. I'm super excited about the fact that we nailed that and we got it right. Okay, and then the final frontier for this update, of course, is the nacelles. Here they are, completed with one coat of the insignia on. And obviously they are, I've got to put a new mask on here because before I do any more painting, because this is lifting up. But oh my gosh, absolutely fantastic and clean. And what I'm excited about is, and I'm tipping this up to camera so you can see the back, there are, well, I can give you a close-up. I'm not ashamed to give you a close-up. There are absolutely no gaps. No gaps. It's all solid and looks like one continuous structure. Super happy. Couldn't be happier. It's really gone together really well. And where I wanted to, I've added some plastic card at the bottom here to add some very, very much needed effect for those plates. It looks quite dramatic, and in person came out very well. So everything is super clean. And ready for its close up. I will give this one more coat of my paint, and as soon as I've done that, I will I'll sand it. I'll give it one more coat, and then I'll be ready to go with my Aztecing on this too. But could not be happier. Couldn't be happier. They're all together. The only other thing I wanted to say to you is make sure that you've got some cotton swabs and some acetone, and get those any joining surfaces, and especially your pylons to your nacelles. Get everything super clean. And test fit, so that you know that when you're ready to go to war on the paint scheme and your decals and everything is finished and clean and you're ready for final assembly, you know you're not going to fight with it. It's going to drop right on and glue up. And the nice thing about it is these pins hold it in position quite well. So you're not going to have to do a lot of fighting and taping and everything else. You can certainly put a jig there. Lots of guys do. I found on the last go round I didn't need a jig and everything was squared up well. As long as you look after those pins, you'll be fine. Okay, so there you go. I've got all my elements here. I've got a little bit of sanding and a little bit of puttying to do, little dinky things. But the next time we come back for an update, everything is going to be primed, and it's going to have its first coat of the insignia white, the Tamiya insignia white on it. And we'll sort of start going through the Aztecing process. Now, I have done that in detail on the previous build. So I'm not going to do that again. If I run into any issues, I will pop in and share with you some things, or if I feel like I've figured something else out, I'm going to share that with you. But I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to set this aside for a little bit for sure. Let it all dry before I spend a week on the Aztecing, because that's what it's going to take. So I think the next update we will do is probably just to show you where I am on Aztecing, decals, that sort of thing. And if I have any other issues, I want to share with you. But I think we got there, and you know, a lot of what you haven't seen is the puttying and sanding. But anything that I've had that was an issue or that I've struggled with, I've shared with you. The only other thing I'll say is that I do desperately want to try, before we do final paint, is I want to try and get all the elements on the desk. I'll have to clear everything off and temporarily hook everything up to the board just to make sure everything is working before I go to final assembly, because you know that's where it all happens. And you know, I have been known to make some stupid mistakes in terms of connecting wires, or something being ground out. It's usually just a basic error that you need to think about. But again, if I run into any issues or there's a concern on that level, I'm going to pop in and share that with you. Okay, so thank you for being part of this update. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm genuinely enjoying it. It's exciting to know that I think that we are 2/3 of the way home. That's pretty amazing. I'm looking forward to the day that I can get this model finally checked off and on display in my collection. I'm begging each and every one of you, if you're still thinking about it, get it out, start building. Tell all your friends you've started the kit. I don't care if it takes you 10 years, but tell them you've started, and tell them I made you. Nah, you know, guys, I joke with you about it, but I really hope that I'm encouraging a lot of you to start modeling and build something, because that's what it's all about, having some fun. Thank you again for all of your comments. You know the drill. I'm on my Spruverse is, I'm on Instagram. I've started on Threads too. We'll see if I survive. And of course, drop me a line. I'm spruverse@gmail. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Tell your friends. I'm heading towards 5,000 subscribers. That is awesome. So I'm hoping I can get there this year, and with all of your help and love and support, we will do that. Okay, as always, I wish all of you, please be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Be well.